Hello class, welcome to Lab 8, Handling Text Files, Part 2. So in this lab, we are going to practice input and output redirection, awk, grep, sed, and also creating aliases. Now, before you start this lab, make sure that you complete the notes and the week report, because there you will practice the necessary commands to understand everything that we are doing over here. Before you start with question 1, please make sure that you read the note over here as a refresher. If you came to this video right after finishing the above mentioned, the before mentioned assignments, then you do not need to read this because you already practiced them, right? But if you came from later, then I really recommend that you read this part over here and then continue with the lab. With that said, let me clean up my my computer a little bit because I was testing this lab to make sure everything was on point. Now let's get started. Beautiful. Now what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna make a directory called Lab 8, and I'm gonna do pretty much everything from this directory, saving all my files and all my stuff. I wanna do it this way so that I don't have a mess in my home directory. Now I'm gonna cd into Lab 8, right? You don't have to do this. I just heavily recommend it that you just create a folder and work from there. I have two terminals here. One is gonna be my playground where I'm gonna test commands, and the other one is gonna be where I'm gonna actually type my answer. Again, playground, the place where I type my answer. Make sense? I hope so. So, question 1.1. Write an echo command that displays the following text. Now, question 2. Save the output of that echo command to a file called filereport.txt, right? So this is what I'm talking about. So we're going to type an echo command and we're going to save it to a file, essentially making a file that already contains that particular text. So all files in my home directory, right? So we're going to use that command to create a file. So we're going to do echo all files in my home directory, and then save this to file underscore report.txt. Now list all the files, including hidden files, but not the two periods and the single period in your home directory. Now we're gonna list all the files, right? So how do we list all? If you don't remember the option of the ls command, this is a great use of the pipe and grep, because we can do man ls and then grep all. And notice that the option for all is minus underscore minus lowercase a or minus uppercase a, right? So this one gives us all and this one gives us almost all, right? So what is the difference between all and almost all? Almost all does not include the current directory and the parent directory, meaning the two periods and the single period. So again, we're gonna do ls minus a. Comma separated. What option gives me comma separated? Well, I don't remember. No problem. Just grep for the word comma. What option do we find? M. So I know that M allows me to do a comma separated list of entries. Now, which directory I'm listing? Home. And what's the last part? Appending the output to filereport.txt. So, filereport.txt. Next, display the content of the filereport.txt file. Okay, let me just make this a little bit smaller and do cat filereport.txt. And that's it. That's it. Notice that the output that was supposed to be displayed on the screen is actually saved in the file because we used output redirection to a file. Now we're going to take a screenshot of this and then we move on to the next question. Just allow me 1 second, please. Okay, so flame shot, take a screenshot. And here is the screenshot of my terminal. Save. And we're gonna save this into CIS 106, labs. Let's create a folder for lab 8. And then let's call this Q1. I only took one for this answered all the questions there. So Q1 dot .png and click on save. Now for question number 2, we're gonna use the pipe now. So let's pipe some stuff out. So let's do clear over here on the screen, clean slate. Write an echo command that displays the following text. Then we're gonna append that output to file report.txt. So total number of files in my home directory. So echo total number of files in my home directory. And then we're gonna append that to file report.txt. Good. Now we're gonna do a long list of all the files in your home directory, right? So again, LA, ls minus al, right? Let's do it in order. L for long list, A for almost all. Now we're gonna pipe this to grep, and we're gonna look for all the entries that are not directories. Now how do we do that? Now if you remember from the output of the ls minus l command, right, the permissions just before them, you have either letter D for directory or the minus sign for regular files. So if we do an ls minus la over here, notice that directories start with D. So the line starts with D, indicating that this is a directory, and then a hyphen or a minus sign indicating that this is a regular file. What we want to tell grep is, give me every line that starts with a hyphen. So ls minus la home, and then pipe this to grep and give me, remember the caret sign, minus, start with a hyphen, and press enter over here. Actually, we're gonna press enter, we're gonna copy this and we're gonna run it in here. This is our playground, just to see what output we get. Again, notice that in the output all we get is regular files. Directories are excluded from here because they do not start with a minus sign. Now we are gonna count this line, and what do we do it? We do the wc command. Now let's pretend that we don't remember the option of the wc command that allows us to count lines. Well, we can use grep for this. Man wc to load the manual page of the wc command, pipe it into grep, and tell the grep command to give you every line that contains the word lines. And we see that option L is for lines. So we do grep, then on the top we're gonna pipe the output of grep into wc to count the number of lines in the output of grep. And with the number that we get is 38, that is exactly the number of files that I have in my home directory. So we're gonna append the output to file report.txt. Right, so now we're gonna repeat the same process but for directories, and this is quite simple, right? First of all, let's do an echo command that is gonna say total number of directories in my home directory, and then let's modify the ls command, well, not the ls command, the grep command, to tell it to only give us the lines that start with letter D, because that means that that is a directory. So press enter over here, and if you repeat the command here, just to see what exactly we're counting, notice that they all start with letter D, indicating that they are indeed directories. Okay. Display the last 10 lines of the file report.txt file. Well, that is simple. All we do is tail and then file report.txt, and that is it. That is it. This is question number 2. Now let's take a screenshot of our terminal, and the magic is done. Question 2. Okay, before we start question number 3, please take a moment to read about awk, set, and the etc password file. Now, the important thing about the etc password file is to remember that it is a file that contains information about users in your system, accounts in your system, including system accounts and user accounts. Right? Every line in this file represents an account in your system. This file is delimited by colons. Here in our presentation, you have, oh, come on, no, right there. You have an explanation of which and every one of the fields mean. However, you don't need to open the presentation. You can open a terminal. Here, let's do clear. Let me split this terminal in two. And if you do man5, because that is for special files, pass wd, you're gonna notice that this is the manual page of the Etsy password file. And here you also have the explanation for each and every one of these fields over here. So let's go back here and let's start with the first instruction. Let me clear my screen, and perfect. Print the first field of the Etsy password file. And the awk command here is quite simple. So we do awk. And the first thing we do is that we specified our field separator, and the field separator is a colon, right? Always surround your field separator by quotations, because that's gonna make it cleaner to understand, and is gonna prevent your awk command from failing if eventually your field separator is something like a semicolon, which is used for indicating an end of line in the bash shell. So surrounding this by quotes makes it so that awk understand that this is actually part of my awk command, not the end of the command. So this is good syntax. Again, awk minus f, and then my field separator. Then my awk command. The awk command is written inside single quotes and then inside braces. And what I want to do is print, and I want the first field. Now I need to specify the file that I am working with. I am working with the Etsy password file. And that's it. This is the first field of the Etsy password file. You know this is correct because here is my username over here. And here is root. Okay, now display to print the first and the last field. Now the last field can be used by just counting the number of fields and specifying the number, or you can use the reserved variable nr. And by the way, here is a list of the most common used variables in awk. Oh God, there you go, right over here, right? So you can put this in your notes, and they're gonna help you remember. Again, nf, which gives you the last field. So let's repeat the same command, and here we're gonna do comma, $nf. And notice that we get again the first and the last field of the Etsy password file. And that is it. This is part one of my question. Because the output is too large, let's take a screenshot over here so that we don't lose this. This is question 3.1. Okay. Now let's move along to question 3.2. Now let's put this into context. Display a list of every user in your system, including their login shell, username, and home directory. And let's do it in that specific order. So how do we do that? Well, let's bring our previous command one more time. We know that the login shell is the last field, right? As we saw earlier. So nf stay the same. All we have to do is add the home directory. Now, which field is the home directory? Well, we learned how to count in middle school, so let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. $6. And that's it. That is the answer for question number 2. Now, let's take a screenshot. Because again, the output is too large and we don't want to lose anything here. Question 3.2. Let's clear our screen and move along to 3.3. This is good, but let's make it easier to read. And what we're gonna do is that we want to create this string here, right? So the user, my user, logs in with this, and the home directory is this. So let's repeat the previous command, but in between this, we're gonna insert some text. At the beginning, we're gonna put the user, right? And then here we are gonna put logs in with, and then here we're gonna put and its home directory is, and its home there is, right? Now, see what happens when I run this command. The user, I'm looking for my user, found it. The user, R.A. Alberto, logs in with, and here is what he logs in with, and its home directory is home R.A. Alberto. Now, let's fix this spacing over here, and press enter. And that's it. That's it. Notice that this string looks exactly like this string over here. Again, here is our command, and let's take a screenshot of our terminal. And this is question 3.3.png. Now, let's run the previous command, but instead we're going to save the output to reports users.txt. Clear. And this is called report underscore users.txt. Okay. But now we're going to combine this with grep. So what we're going to do is we're going to grep the content of this file, but we want only the users that can log into the system. And we can do this in two ways, right? One way is we know that the only login shell that we have in our system is bin bash. So we can look for every line that contains bin bash. So let's do grep. As a matter of fact, I am simply going to repeat the previous command, and I'm going to pipe it to grep. And I'm going to tell grep, give me everything that contains the bin bash. Press enter over here, and yep, we get 2 lines. Now, use the awk command to modify the output so that it shows username equals to login shell. Now, I cannot use this file for this, right? I cannot use this exact command for this. I will need to modify this command. So let's do awk -f again. Let me make this a little bigger. Perfect. And remember, my awk commands are surrounded by single quotes and then the braces. So here we're gonna type print $1 equals, let me put in a space in between, and then login shell is 7, or we can just do NF because we know it's the last shell. And we're gonna use etc password. And there you go. Append the output to the reports users.txt. So okay, I see what the behavior we need to emulate here. So I need to get only the users that can log into the system. So I can either repeat the previous command. Actually, that's what we're gonna do. It's gonna make our life a little bit more easier. So let's repeat this command, but let's grep and then do bin bash. Done. Now we're gonna append this to report users.txt. And this is question 3.4 and 5. So 3.5. Take a screenshot, show your command, save, and question 3.5. We need to show the output of reports users.txt. Oh, sure, why not? Cat report users.txt, and then a screenshot here. Question 3.6, and that's it. If you give me only the output, the command, I'm okay with that. That's fine. Question 4. Now, with question 4, we're going to be using grep and awk and pretty much everything we used before to generate our own CSV file, right? So let's do clear, and we don't need this open anymore. We can close this terminal. And let's start with instruction 4.1. Use grep to generate a CSV file that contains cars manufactured by Honda. And this is quite simple, right? So we know that the file that we need is located in Documents and then CSV. If you don't have these files, it's because you didn't do lab number 7. And here is the file that I'm going to be working with. So what we need to do is get every line that contains the word Honda. And I don't know if it's uppercase or lowercase, so I'm going to turn off case sensitivity. Then we are going to do Documents, CSV, and then cars.csv, right? And this is going to give me all the lines that contains the word Honda. We need to save this output somewhere. Yeah, we need to save this file to honda1.csv. So honda1.csv. Done. Right? And let's continue moving on. Display the first line of the cars.csv file and save it to a file called honda1.csv. Oh, I made a terrible mistake. Oh my god, I am very, very tired today. I gotta apologize. Okay, so let's do head -1 because we want the first line of Documents, CSV, cars, and we want to save it into honda1.csv. Let's take a look at what's inside honda1.csv. It is the headers of our CSV file. Perfect. Instruction B. In a separate terminal, display the content of honda1.csv. We already did that. Do you see all the fields and columns? Yes, we see them. Now, we're going to use grep to get all the cars manufactured by Honda and append them to honda1.csv. So, again, same command that we used over here, but we are appending this time instead of saving. So, this is the one. Again, grep all the lines that contain the word Honda from this file and append it to honda1.csv. So if we cat this, notice that we get a nice CSV file that contains the information that we want. Is the file populated as expected? Yes, it is. Now, we finished question 4, part 1. Now, let me see question 2. We're going to do it right over here. Now, you said to replace the semicolons with commas and save the output to a file called honda2.csv. So again, sed, and this is how we use sed, right? So for sed, we do single quotes. S is for replacing, // and in here we're gonna type what we are replacing. We're replacing semicolons, and we're replacing these semicolons with commas, and then we close it with another // and then we provide G if we want to do it globally, so line by line for the entire file. And the file we're working with is honda1.csv, right? And the output of this command is gonna be saved to honda2.csv. Now I want to run the command first so that you see what it's doing. See how it replaced all the semicolons? Now let's save this to honda2.csv. Now let's take a screenshot of this because the output is getting quite large. Question 4.1 and that 2 as well. Now let's move along to that 3. Now we're going to create a CSV file of our own. So from the honda2.csv file, we're going to extract the cars, cylinders, and horsepowers field. So let's keep that in mind. Now, create the header for every column field, and we're going to do it with echo, and we're going to call it model, cylinder, and HP. So, let's do clear, echo, model, cylinder, and then HP. And we're going to save this to a file called honda3.csv. Done. Now we're going to use awk to print the first, third, and the fifth field of the honda2.csv file. including the first line, excluding the first line. End with commas after every field. Now this is quite an interesting awk command. It sounds more complicated than it is, but it isn't. Trust me on this one. So now, first of all, let's type the basic awk command, and we're gonna modify it from there, right? So let's do awk, and we need the field separator, which is a comma in this file, right? It's a comma inside Honda Honda2.csv, and here is where we're gonna put our awk command. So we know that we need print $1, comma, and we need to put a comma here because it's a comma separated file. Put another comma, and then here we need, actually we can just do $1, comma, $3, comma, $5, and then this is Honda2.csv, right? So let's take a look at how this looks like. And okay, good. We get sort of what we're looking for, right? We get, except that we lose the commas here, right? That's no bueno. So let's fix that. So the first thing that we're gonna fix is we need the commas. So let's do comma over here, and in quotations we're gonna put a comma here. Good. Now let's put a comma here, and in quotations we're gonna put comma here. Notice that I'm using double quotes because I already have single quotes in the end. And that is about it. Let's see how our command looks like. Okay, so we're getting there, right? Except that, look at that, right? That is just not it. We don't want that. And also, we don't want the first line either, right? We don't want the first line, and we don't want all of these spaces in between, right? So we're getting there. We're getting there. Now, the next thing that we're gonna fix is how do we get rid of this line, right? So we want awk to start printing after the first line. So again, there is an example of this command, so I want to show you the example first. So if we go to the presentation and you go to this line, this page 45, you're gonna notice this over here. So it starts printing from a given number of lines. So in this case, NR is 3. So it start printing after the third line, right? So we're gonna modify this, and what we want to tell it is, okay, so let's go to our command, and right over here we're gonna put the variable NR greater than 1, right? And notice that now, currently, the first line is cars, cylinders, horsepower. Now notice that the first line now is gonna be Honda Civic 497. Press enter. Exactly what we want. So we're getting there to the output that we need, slowly but surely. So pipe the output to the previous awk command and replace every space, comma, space with just a comma. And we can use sed for this. So again, let's grab the command, let's use a pipe, and let's do sed. Hey, sed, please replace a space, comma, comma, space with just a comma, close it, and do it globally. Press enter over here. And correct. Look that now I have just comma, 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 comma. Good. But we're not done. We're gonna pipe it to another sed command because I don't want Honda space. I want Honda underscore because that was what the marketing department wanted me to do. So repeat, and then pipe to another sed command and say, hey sed, pretty please replace Honda space with Honda underscore globally. Press enter, and beautiful. Now we have the output that we want to append to Honda3.csv. So let's repeat the previous command, and look how big this command is getting. This is just crazy. Append to Honda3.csv and press enter. Now if you cat the content of Honda3.csv, notice that you have a perfectly formatted, beautifully formatted CSV file using the commands that we learned so far. Yeah, this I'm not gonna ask you something this big in your exam, obviously not, but I just wanted you to practice and see how all of this piping can be used to do some complicated stuff, but save you a lot of time in the end. In a separate terminal, install the command bat. Okay, so I think we could, yeah, we don't need to clear the screen there, so we can avoid doing that. So let's do sudo apt update. We're not doing an upgrade, we're just doing an update, and that's it. Good. So now let's do sudo apt install batcat. Oh my god. Sudo dpkg. If you ever get this problem, just read the output. The output has the solution. dpkg configure -a. It's gonna take a little bit of time, so I'm gonna pause the video and then get back. Once this is done, we're gonna come back to it. Okay, so now we need to do sudo apt install fix missing and y enter, and let's just leave this command do its thing. Okay, now that fix missing finished executing, let's do sudo apt install batcat. Batcat not found. Interesting. I thought that the name of the package was batcat, so I think it's bat probably. I need to fix this here to include this instruction, so let's do sudo apt search bat. See what we get. Let's pipe this into grep and see. Let's get batcat. Nothing. Give me the lines that contain the word bat. Too much output. Might as well just read this. Type it into less so we can read it one line at a time, one page at a time. No, none of that. Bat. Yep, the name of is bat. So let's do sudo apt install bat. Almost done, and it's done. So let's do clear, and now we can do, let's go to, oops, forgot that we're working here. Batcat Honda 3.csv. And what I like about batcat is that it is essentially a pretty printing of cat. So it just does the same thing as cat, but it gives you syntax highlighting, and it looks really cool when you're working with CSV files. And if the CSV file is complicated and long, it just makes it easier to understand. For example, let me take a screenshot of this, and then I'm gonna show you other CSV files so that you see what I mean. So let's click here, take a screenshot, and copy this, save, and then let's call this Q 4.2, and that ends question number 4. Then we're gonna move on to question number 5. So for example, here's what happens if I cat our bash rc file, right? So just the entire file on the screen. It's a little bit tricky to read, but if I do batcat bash rc, now I get syntax highlighting, and it makes it so much easier to read the output of code when we are working on the command line, right? So here's an example of batcat etc password. Again, see how easy it makes it so that we can read our CSV files and any type of file, right? In VS Code, there is an extension called Rainbow CSV. If you work with VS Code, this is essentially the same thing. So let's quit there, clear, cd, clear over here, and move along to the next part. Now, question 5. This question is completely optional, so I'm gonna come back to this question after I explain the challenge question in this lab. And because after this question requires no screenshot or anything, so you don't have to do it if you don't want to do it, because it's optional. So challenge question, right? And I suggest you pay attention to challenge question because there is a similar question in your final. So what is the problem that we're trying to solve here? Well, imagine for a second you're working on a website. I'm just gonna give you a TLDR of this. You're given this site, the site is broken, there is nothing wrong with the code. The problem is the files are not where they're supposed to be, right? So your HTML file is trying to find an image, you cannot find it because the path in the document doesn't exist in the folder, right? That's essentially the problem we're trying to solve. There is no need to modify the HTML, the styles, or the script. There's no need to do none of that, right? All you need to do is know how to use grep and know how to make folders and know how to move files. That's the only thing you need to do, right? There is no need to know HTML, CSS, or JavaScript here. All you need to know is relative path and absolute path. So how does a path look like? And then just trace back the steps in the path to know exactly the directory structure you need to create. That's it. Once you figure that part out, just make your files, just make your folders, move your files, and open the page, right? That's it. I suggest you read the problem and you read the tips one by one so that you understand exactly how you need to solve this question. So let me get this part done in front of you so that you see what I'm talking about. So click on here, and that should download a zip file. I'm gonna place this zip file in my lab 8 directory, right? And you can uncompress this zip file with the graphical interface, so you can just open the file and then click on extract, then put the file in your lab 8 directory, click on extract, show files, and notice that you have a folder called broken here now, and it contains all the files that you need, right? That's one way that you can do this. That's the easy way, right? So I'm gonna do it now the command line way, because why not? So we're gonna do cd lab 8 ls rm-r broken, good, ls, and notice that I have a file called broken.zip. And in the command line, if I want to unzip a file, guess what's the name of the command? Unzip. Done. Unzip, zip file, problem solved. Right, so I'm gonna remove the broken.zip file because I don't need it anymore, and I'm gonna go inside broken, and I'm gonna take a look at what's inside. So I have all the files over here, good. Let me just do ls-1x so that I can sort them by file extension. So I know that I have 3 HTML files over here, and if I open index.html, which is the file that you're supposed to open at the end of solving the challenge question, and you can do this by typing Firefox and then doing index.html. That should launch Firefox and open with the file index.css. See, this looks terrible. This just looks terrible, like putting mango in rice. This is just terrible, right? So let's close that. Let's clear our screen. I'm gonna solve the challenge question, and I'm gonna show you how the solution looks like so that you have a reference. So I'm gonna pause the video now. Okay, part of the problem has been solved, right? So now if I do Firefox and then I do index.html, notice that the images are showing, right? At least the image is showing. But unfortunately, my website is still broken because the styles file and the JavaScript file are not in their right place. So let's do that now. Okay, good. Now let's do Firefox index.html. And this is how the site is supposed to look like once all the files are in their right place, right? This is how the file is supposed to look like. So now I am going to pause the recording again. Okay, so let's clear the screen. When you are done, the output of this command should look exactly like mine. So ls-l. to pipe it into grep and give me all the files that start with a minus sign. So give me all the regular files, non-folders inside this directory. And the only files that should be in here are resume, projects, index, and contact.html. That's the only files that should be in here. Now, if I do Firefox index.html, clicking on the menu should take you to the respective HTML files. Okay, I'm gonna close this. Now you see how the solution is supposed to look like. What are you gonna provide to show me that you successfully completed this question? Well, you're gonna give me all the commands that you use to fix the website, right? All the commands that you use. I'm gonna follow the trail, the chain of thought that you use with those commands to get this website solved. If it does the job, you get the credit. And finally, and a screenshot of Firefox with the website open. Those two things, you know, as many screenshots as you need to give me, plus the screenshot of Firefox, and that's it. Right? Once you finish with the challenge question, prepare your markdown file, then push it to GitHub, give me the URL, and give me the PDF file. And that's it. Now for the managing aliases. If you're not interested in this question, if you don't care about this question, you don't want to learn this, that's it. You're done with the lab. Go do your file, submit. If you are interested, then stay tuned. So let me clear the screen over here. Now, aliases are cool because as you saw with this lab, there are times where we need very, very long commands to get a particular job done. And it's difficult to remember those commands. But more importantly, when you use those commands all the time, every day, because they are part of your job, it is a pain in the neck to type all of that all the time. So an alias allows us to run one entire set of commands, a script, a program, or a bunch of a sequence of commands and scripts with a single word, right? So how does this work? Well, you have a file in your Linux system called bash aliases, and if you don't have them, you can make it, right? So let me go home and let's show you the file. So I'm gonna do ls period bash start. So you see you have a file here called bash aliases. There is a line in the bash rc file that references this file and loads your aliases that you have saved here to your system when you log in. So if you do, let's do cat, actually let's just do cat bash rc, and I was about to do something very, very newbie. Cat into bat, that's just crazy. Cat into grep, that is just, oh my god, that is embarrassing. So let's do grep bash underscore aliases and do bash rc. So these are the lines that you have there that are going to load those aliases, right? It's a simple if statement that says if this file exists, then load it, right? So let's do clear and let's take a look at the aliases we currently have in our system. So if you type the command alias, it's gonna print to the screen all the aliases that you currently have. So notice that we have an alias for lscf, which is just L. So when you type L, it runs an ls command, right? So when I type LA, it runs ls minus A. ls, LA, it runs ls minus A. Let's see what other aliases we currently have. We also have text files, you know, an alias that you're already familiar with because you used it for the previous lab. But now let's create a couple of more aliases here, right? So how do we do it? Simple. gedit bash underscore aliases, and this is gonna open that file in gedit, and then we just type them over here. The formula, it's just stupid simple. It's very simple. Alias, give it a name, go to CIS 106, equal sign, no spaces, and in quotations, single quotes or double quotes, you type your alias. So this is gonna take me to my CIS 106 folder, home/CIS 106. Click on save, and now all you have to do is source this file. So I can close this and I do source.bashrc, right? Or you can just source bash underscore aliases. Either or is gonna do the job. And now I can type go to CIS106 and it runs this cd command, no problem. See, pretty cool, right? So now let's do a clear and let's do another one. So let's do cd again. We're gonna open our bash aliases file and let's do update. Let's also do upgrade. Let's do install and let's do clean and let's also do lsx. So we're gonna just paste them here and click on save. Now let's do source.bashrc. By the way, closing the terminal and opening the terminal again will do the same thing. It's just that, you know, it's just easier to just source the file. And now I can do just update. And yeah, update is gonna run sudo apt update. See? And I can do the same thing with upgrade. I'm gonna do no on this. See? And install, same thing. Install VLC. And to clean, again, if I do clean, it runs each and every one of these commands one after each other. And now let's do lsx. Ooh, exa is not installed probably. Let's see. Exa is supposed to be installed. There you go. So I must have a typo there. Let's take a look at that. So we have alias equal lsx equals to... Oh, I see why. This terminal here, I need to source bash rc because it wasn't loaded into memory, and that is why lsx was not available. Now lsx is available, no problem, because bash rc is there. Again, this, what does this do? You know, it's an exa command that is just gonna give me this output you see over here. So I can do lsx downloads, for example. There's probably something wrong with this guy here. Let's take a look. Yeah, I'm supposed to run this guy. Let's see why this is running recursively. Downloads. -t, sort by extension, no permissions, no users, no time. Yeah. Clear exa downloads. And if you give me -t, I think that's where the problem comes in. Yeah, let's take a look at what the -t option do. So let's do man exa and let's search for -t. Tree, that is tree. It does a recursive tree of directories, so that's why. So we don't want that. Let's edit this alias file because we don't really want it recursively. So let's go and do again gedit bash aliases. And we're gonna let's get rid of the T option of the exa or exa. Ha. Oh my god, I'm so used to Vim. I was about to do the save in Vim. Okay, gone. Source.bashrc and let's do lsx. And that's exactly what we want. So lsx downloads, beautiful. Now this, I really like this command. Or this alias because I don't use exa a lot, but I do use ls a lot. And yeah, I know people are gonna complain, but I know exa is better, yes, but again, used to ls. One thing that LS struggles with is giving you directory size, file size in a nice and beautiful manner like this. Not without a very long ls command, and I don't really, it's really a pain in the neck. So lsx does a pretty nice job of this, so that's why I have this alias over here. Yes, there are other ways to get around this, there are other ways to do this, but this is the way I know, this is the way I like to do it, this is the way I do it. Yep, and that finishes lab number 8. Again, aliases are pretty cool. If you want a list of other aliases that I use, you can do curl https cis106 slash assets bash underscore aliases. Is it there that I have it, or do I have it at the root? Either. Where did I put that? Let me take a look. Oh my god. You can tell that I had a long day at work today. Take a look at that. Take a look at that crazy mistake. So yeah, so you can take a look at these aliases and copy whatever you find interesting from here. If you have any questions, you know what to do. I'll see you in class.